Welcome back to the No Judge Necessary podcast, where we got the opinions like DC, we're crazy like Gaethje, and we're as high as O'Malley. We're the podcast for fight fans that want to see fists fly and don't want to wait on the judges. I'm your host, Brick, and as always, my cornerman, Nil, and Matty P, and special guest today, the Bane MMA.
Going on, gents?
How we doing?
How we doing, boys?
A lot of fights
Welcome in. I think we got to throw it right over first to you. Give a little introduction, tell us a little about yourself, favorite fighter, whatever you got.
Hey, I'm the Bam, an esports commentator by trade, looking to make that actual MMA commentating debut on December 18th. More of just a shit poster, like having fun, man. Always up to make some memes and some fun videos. I'd say in terms of most notable things, there's just a few funny impressions. The Anik one, most recognizable, I suppose. But, UFC fan for a couple years, more of a casual, but like to think I'm hardcore.
What do you mean commentating debut? Talk to me.
So Tarpsoff Fight Club Brawl by the Falls goes down December 18th at the Scotiabank Convention Center, live on Fight TV. And I am the lead play-by-play alongside UFC's Deanna Belbita and then Jack Gottsell from the Tarpsoff Sports Network. So super pumped about it. Debut for that promotion up in Canada. Just honored to get the invite to fly up there and provide, what I got.
That's fucking unreal. Congrats on that, dude. That's dope.
Absolutely lit. Love our brothers to the north in Canada, so.
If you can't be good, at least be Canadian.
Exactly.
All right.
Looks like we got a ton to talk about this week. I would love to just talk about all of Bane's unbelievable accomplishments in life, but we got way too much on the docket. I believe we are going to kick it off with a fun event last Friday night that we all went to, except for Bane, who had to work, unfortunately. But LFA 119 down in Phoenix, Arizona. That was an exciting fight. The last time I had been in that theater was actually for a Joe Rogan comedy show. So I was a little interested to see what the setup was, but very intimate. Definitely got a few interesting stories. And do we want to start it there, boys?
I liked the setup. So it was in a theater hall, and pretty much they entered from like the back of the stage, and we were all like viewing the theater stage. So we only had one shot of the cage, which I thought would be stupid, but it was actually kind of cool because it's like you're the fighters, you guys are over there, you're gonna come out this way, like into the crowd. It kind of had some like one championship like walk entrance, like, hey, there's going to be lights and shit. There's going to be a background. Now, it obviously wasn't to the scale one does it, but it was interesting. And as someone who's been to some smaller level promotions, to me, that was cool to see. I didn't expect it to be like, it was legit. I thought it would be, I don't know. I didn't expect that.
You know what I did expect that did happen is Ray Waters with that first round knockout.
Big facts.
Baby Ray.
Yeah, our boy.
Was the mine. I mean, there were some funny ones on the prelims, but
yep,
that was when it got real.
Yeah. I mean, let's start right there.
I mean, Ray was fighting the guy from Mexico. I already forgot his name. My bad. But he had about maybe 3 pro wins or maybe a couple pro wins. I forgot. Ray was telling me, he's like, going to be a quick one. I wish I would have bet a ton of money on it. Didn't. Put him in parlays like an idiot and then ended up losing those parlays. But first round, Ray takes him down. Does what he does. Wrestling department, shout out ASU. Ground and pounded him out within, what was like the 4th minute?
3 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah, it was quick work for him. I really think that just that wrestling base and then the aggression when he gets to the ground, that's something we don't see always, especially with the lower level fighters who have that wrestling base. A lot of them just try to work for a dominant position and kind of just, hold people down. But the second Ray gets there, he just sees vulnerability and he just attacks. So I really like that. But it wasn't even reckless either. Like he still, worked his base, got to his half guard, and just dominated. So
I was impressed with the shot to get the takedown. This dude comes out right away aggressive and is like, I'm coming at you. Throws a leg kick, and the guy was like, okay, I'm going to throw a right hand. That's pretty much how you counter it. Guy throws a blind left kick. you're going to counter it with a power shot. And Ray was like, I'm going to just duck under and slam you to the mat. And it was like 5 seconds in, and he's already picked him up and slammed him. I'm like, oh, it's going to be like that? That to me was impressive. Just the quick reads and bam, instantly already on a double leg, had him. It's like, oh, it's going to be a tough night for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man,
right? He's got that physicality too. Like it's aggression coupled with, athleticism, and he's built like an M1 Abrams. If he gets around your hips, you're definitely going to go for a ride. So I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys left, but the fight after, it was the co-main event. I forgot the guys' names, but that fight, both of these guys are going to be in the featherweight. They're going to be in the UFC for sure. That fight was just a bang.
Palencia versus Bagoso?
Yes, dude. Dopest fight I had seen on the card. So shout out to them. We're going to see these guys for sure in the UFC. I wish I remember. One of them had blonde hair. I think he's Australian. And the other guy was a fight-ready guy, so everyone was cheering for him. I had to kind of tag along.
I think that's Palencia.
Mm-hmm.
Palencia's fighting, not a fight.
We're getting a table, too. For next time, we'll get a no judges table.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
You got to get a table for that shit.
Well, once you guys dipped, Ray was just like, bro, slide with me. And we just slid down and just sat at a table. Like, it wasn't even Ray's table or nothing. They just had extra seats. So we just slithered right up in there.
I mean, it helps when you have a guy who just got a first-round knockout with you.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I quite have that pull.
And then I got to give a shout-out to Joshua. He was the main event. He's the homie, too, Joshua Silveira. He's the double champ now in LFA. He's the homie, too, ASU Wrestling. So just another shout-out to him. It was a pretty interesting fight, but he had just kind of smothered them and won based on the points.
Was he the second LFA double champ or first? I can't remember. I know
he's the second. He's the second.
Yeah.
Casey Kenny is the first ever double champ, which is weird as shit. Casey Kenny, of all people. Yeah, crazy. I mean, a lot of people who have been champions in LFA are in the UFC. I'm pretty sure Eric Anders was the first ever champion in LFA, or at least the first ever middleweight. We'll talk about him later. But yeah, LFA is just sort of interesting. And I'm impressed with Silveira to defeat Ravel, because Ravel, 11-3, tough as nails, had plenty of experience. I thought, oh shit, this is gonna be a tough fight for a guy who's 6-0 coming into this spot, and he kind of just, but I mean, unanimous decision, that speaks a lot. So
yeah, no, Joshua's the real deal, man. We'll be definitely seeing him. His dad is like one of the head trainers at ATT. He just grew up in that gym, I think, and we'll be seeing him.
Wait. Is his dad the big Brazilian guy who trains everyone down there like that?
I don't know which guy it is.
That's a tough description. Big Brazilian guy. Oh yeah, that's him. I don't know if that's
sure. Nah, you would know exactly who. He's got the beard, everything. You would know. I mean, yeah, it's a shit description, but
it's not Mike Brown. That's all I know.
This guy?
I don't know, dude. I never met his dad before. It looks kind of like him. Yeah, it's him.
Sure, definitely.
It's got to be Conan Silveira.
Oh yeah, that's him. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's him. But before we move on from LFA, do we have to talk about the funniest part of the night?
Yeah, we do.
The third fight of the night. Eric Fimbres got the win, but that's not who we're talking about.
Nope.
Our boy, Osama Awadallah, his entire family was sitting about 12 feet to our left, one row down. And, we're Muslim descent, clearly all had the head guards and everything. His sweet mother was sitting right there. Clearly had never been to a fight before, And then right as he comes out, his sister, let's go, Osama, and I was kind of like, you know what, I'm going to sort of pull for this guy. And then we saw him come out. And he was fat. He was short. He had bad hair. And my description of him lasted longer than the fight. He threw one leg kick. The guy laughed at him and then continued to absolutely beat his ass in about 26 seconds. And then about 20 minutes after the fight, he comes over to his family. All his boys start clowning him. and his mom just starts absolutely ripping into him, just wagging the finger in his face. And we just start dying laughing. We are just losing it. We can hear him going like, I told you should have been a doctor. And then the moment of the night, he goes, what did you want me to do? He was throwing punches from Denver. They were from Denver.
The guy he fought was like 6'6" and had crazy reach. And honestly, I want to talk to whoever the matchmaker was for this fight because that wasn't cool. Like, we see fights that are lopsided. We see lopsided fights, but not like that. That was like, I would have.
I'm sick of this Osama hate. Hold on. That guy took that beating like a champ, man. He came back over to the group and started making jokes. We got to give him some respect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's interesting though is, you know, you book a fight like that, which is just a complete mismatch, right? And you leave out undefeated LFA prospect Christian Natividad, you know, great opportunity to fight in his hometown. I don't know why they didn't book his ass for something. It makes no sense to me.
That's what I was kind of confused about because it was early in the night that we got there. And, you know, obviously LFA is a pretty high level of fighting. I know a lot of people make their debut there, but like you got to be a pretty high level amateur to get there. And like you said, there's plenty of names that could have been on that card. And he had zero business selling hot dogs there.
Yeah, it was just a rough look. And, you know, he got finished and spent about 20 minutes on the cage floor trying to recover. Just the whole scene was just, it was a tough look for Osama.
Osama's been taking a lot of L's recently.
They were playing in the background as he's like knocked out on the ground. They're playing like apple bottom jeans in the whole time. It was just like, bro.
Oh yeah, we got to shout out the DJ 2012.
Oh my God.
He refused to play anything past the year of 2012. Like if we were out of high school, get it the fuck out of here.
Look, he has his niche. He's got his genre of music, and he's not going to stray away from it. That's respectable as well.
For sure. Moving on, or anything else on LFA?
I don't have anything on this card. It was a fun time.
Yeah, definitely.
That's for sure. I mean, it was star-studded too. You know, everybody was there. That's in Arizona. You saw Benson Henderson walking around, Casey Kenny, tons of guys there. So we definitely got to step it up next time we get a table.
Yeah. The owner of Fight Ready was there. The Eric Alberson guy, or however you say his last name.
Captain.
Yep, Captain.
Oh, yeah. You could pick him out of the crowd.
Yeah, the guy's always got cool glasses on.
Yep, facts. That's exactly who I'm talking about.
For sure. But moving on to, I guess this was Friday morning in the U.S., but One Championship had a massive card. One Championship Winter Warriors. This was an absolute banger. This is and something that I just love about One Championship. I will say also because I do live streams and they're at about 5 a.m. They're short, sweet, and to the point. Nice 6-fight card, all action. It was unbelievable. We're going to try to run through a few of these quickly, and then we'll break down the ones that we need to. Yuya Wakamatsu got his revenge on Hung Yu.
Wait, say his name again. The first guy.
Yuya Wakamatsu.
Wakamatsu's Revenge. That sounds like I don't know, but it sounds like something. I like it.
6 Samurai movie?
Yeah.
I'm in. But yeah, got his finish. It was a 3-round decision. Absolute war. I mean, China and Japan go at it. Not much more you need to say there. But the second fight, we do need to get into. Because our dog, Marcus Almeida Buchecha, the BJJ legend, gets his second submission and absolutely dominating a performance over Ji-Won Kang. He stood with them a little bit for the first minute and a half, which we kind of advised against. But once he got to the ground, it was light work. Like, that dude is going to be an absolute problem for anyone in that division. I mean, it's going to be one of those things that once he gets toward the top of this division, some of the knockout power and the real kickboxing and Muay Thai is going to step up a level. But if he can get anyone on the ground, I don't see anyone who can really fuck with him.
When we had him on the podcast and I was asking him, like, do you just go off feel, or like do you say, all right, this guy did this move, so I'm doing these 3 things and I'm gonna stay like 2 steps ahead? And he was like, I always try to stay 2 steps ahead. You can see it when he's on the ground. It's just like clean technique, easy. He makes it look simple, and that's what good BJJ is. If it's looking easy to the eye, you're doing it right, and he's just the king at this shit. If someone wants to take him down, good luck with that.
And then next up, we had Dodgy Arseniev knocked out Timothy Nastasiukin for the second time. Nastasiukin, who is, kind of the bee's knees the last few years, he's trains with Petr Yan, has that, Russian knockout kind of style over in Thailand, but Dodgy just sort of has his number. It was definitely a war for the first 2 rounds. And then in the 3rd round, Dodgy just put it the fuck on him and put him out.
I think Nastasiukin has, those like sand glasses where the sand's just like falling down and it's just taking forever.
Yeah,
I think that was his win over Eddie Alvarez, and the sand has just been falling, and now it's getting put to the point where there's not much left in the top. And it's unfortunate because he's still a great fighter, but I just feel like his stock is just slowly dropping because it's like you beat Eddie, so the expectation's up here, and he just keeps delivering a little bit lower, and it's just...
You know who he kind of reminds me a little bit of? He's not as outspoken, but he's kind of like a Jorge Masvidal, where he sort of had sort of a highlight, and then when he got into the real mixer, he hasn't done a whole lot.
Maybe. And then we had another decision. Hiroki Yamato, Akimoto, defeated Jilong Q in a kickboxing match, 3 rounds. I didn't see this fight, but I saw a lot of highlights. Akimoto's a savage. These step-in knees are just a problem.
And this dude threw strikes that I didn't know were legal in kickboxing, but a lot of inside elbows, a lot of knees to the body, a lot of they can clinch, but you can't hold. I don't completely understand.
You can't throw knees from the clinch. You can throw knees from the distance.
Gotcha.
So he's figured out how to just step, knee. I'm not in the clinch. I'm out. It's legal. And it's such a fine line, and it's weird. You even hear the commentators talking about it, and I get lost sometimes.
Right. And then the Atomweight World Grand Prix final, Stan Fairtex versus Ritu Phogat. This was an incredible fight. They stood on the feet for the first round mostly. Ritu did get a takedown towards the end of the first round, and you really thought that would kind of be her path. But then Stamp ended up in the second round. She got taken down and then immediately worked into a triangle. And everyone was kind of like, oh, what the fuck? Ritu got on her great wrestling, stacked Stamp on her back, and you thought that was going to be the end of it. Snatched an armbar out of nowhere, gets herself the shot at Angela Lee. It was honestly the most complete and incredible performance I've ever seen out of Stamp Fairtex, which says a lot because she's one of the legends of one championship.
I love that the winner of this fight got a silver belt as the finalist of a Grand Prix. I hate when sometimes an interim champion or someone who won a tournament but then has to unify against who the real champion is has an identical belt. It just, to me, it doesn't set anything apart. There's got to be a differentiator that makes you, the top of the top. And I kind of appreciate that. I like that she's worked through this tournament. And shit, her versus Angela Lee, that's going to be a great fight. And if Stan Fairtex can pull out submissions, I mean, good luck with this girl then.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute banger of a title fight. I believe that's coming up the end of January, but we'll have more info on that. And then the main event, the lightweight world championship in Super Series kickboxing, Regan Urso versus Islam Murtazaev. Regan Urso has been basically the champ and sort of run laps on this division, and he challenged one championship to go out and find him a challenge, and that they did. Islam Murtazaev put it on him for the first 2 rounds. If you've watched Regan Urso fight before, that's kind of his MO, where he sort of, calculates and downloads the guy's information for first round or 2 and then starts putting it on him. But Islam hung in there till the end. I do think it was a good decision for Regan. He did win the last 3, but this is by far the closest fight he's had in the last probably 5-10 fights. So I would love to see them run it back. But if they don't run it back, I don't really know what's is next.
I'm just curious at who can solve this puzzle in Regan Ursula. I mean, he defeated Brad Riddell. He's defeated Murtazaev, and Murtazaev came from Tiger Muay Thai, by the way. He just out the cut. They were like, we need a challenge, and they found someone. I just don't know how you're going to beat this guy. You're going to have to get him out of there early, and it's going to have to be you can't let him get a read on you, or you're fucked. That's just
I think we're going to need to see
what it is.
Some ridiculous knockout power and just finish him in the first 2 or 3 rounds because no one's touching that dude in the 4th or 5th.
Yep, he's got the stamina, he's got the smarts, he's got the IQ. We're going to need someone to hit him with the super bond on Giorgio Petrosian or whatever that fight was, where it's just like, oh, you thought this was going to be a close fight. 1-2, head kick, done.
Done so. But we love our one championship, but let's come back to the States and bring back in Bane and Matty P.
I was going to say, I wish I had more of a finger on the pulse of ONE FC. They're such a great promotion, and I really enjoy anything that I see from them. It's just the time zones don't really match up, in my opinion, for me. But, I mean, hey, they got a good thing going.
That's why it's great that you can always watch back their fights on their YouTube channel. We'll get you up to speed.
Watching that.
But let's talk last week. What jumps off the card to us?
I mean,
that what was the first fight when Smolka got rocked? That's like when you're playing UFC 4 or whatever, and you throw a fucking combo, and you're like, yo, I got this guy. I'm fucking good. And then your stamina's on low, and the other guy throws one punch, and you're fucking done. That's exactly what that fight felt like. It was just like, oh, he gassed out his stamina, and the guy hit RB and X and fucking KO'd him. Like,
since we're going all the way back to the prelims, let me bitch for a second. Because all my bets got thrown off because I had Menefield in everything. And I thought he won that fight, bro. I was like, he won 2 rounds. And they gave it the night. I'm like, yeah, get the damage argument. But no, 2 rounds to 1. Lost me like maybe $100. Pretty pissed off.
I'm not going to lie.
That was a close one. That was a close one. I think Will it's all about optics, right, to some extent. And he was controlling the octagon. He was throwing the larger strikes and landed a little bit more at a higher clip. But, yeah, I mean, I was disappointed simply because this one didn't end via, quick first-round knock. I mean, these guys are huge. Will Knight is probably the most jacked guy on the roster. Let's get a quick finish at 205. Let's not have a 15-minute affair.
Well, that's why I think they gave it tonight, to be honest. They're like, that guy looks like the Hulk. I'm scared to not give him the nod.
He'll kill me if I don't give it to him.
Yeah. You got it.
Yeah, and I think that does have to do with a little bit. We've talked about it before on other podcasts where it's like, it's so fucking hard to judge a fight live.
Facts.
And when you're, with no monitors, no replays, no stats, no anything, sometimes in these razor close thin fights, it is that, cage control or just the intimidating factor where it's like, oh, he looks bigger and he's walking him down. So sure, and that shouldn't be how it's scored. But I mean, when they have nothing else to go off of, that's kind of what it boils down to.
And you look at the success within those 3 rounds, right? Knight knocks Menefield down in the first round and then has some continued success as that first round came to a close. So, boom, easy Knight opening round. And then round 2, a bit more contested. Could see Menefield winning that one. That third set of 5 minutes, though, I just felt Knight was a bit more active. And like we just mentioned, in his face, he was the one dictating the pace and forcing the pressure. And that goes a long way if all else is even. And if you're Alonzo Menefield, I mean, you're going to be kicking yourself because it's like, you should have pulled the trigger. You should have pulled the trigger. You should have been more active. You should have just kind of bit down in the mouthpiece a little bit. Because Will didn't like taking damage. Clearly, he doesn't like getting hit. And Menefield packs a big punch. I was just confused why he didn't try to, touch up William a bit more. But
I mean, I agree. His jab was landing nicely. If he could have just kept that jab moving. But I get it. William, that's the scariest guy I've ever seen in my life. I'd probably be scared to throw heavy on him too, or even get close to him. So
Yeah, exactly. You extend that jab, and then you realize that you're in the bear cage, and you're just like, oh, fuck.
Well, one of my friends had Menefield in this fight, so he was pissed in the decision. And we were talking, and it led to me saying that there should be why do the judges watch the fight cage side? Why are they not like in a back room with like 17 monitors and like no one else in there?
Watching
Like
their feet level, like
correct.
what?
And they got to feel the energy of the crowd. So if everyone's on Masvidal, now I know that this fight was in the Apex Center, but let's say everyone's on Masvidal and he does one thing. It's like, does that sway the judges? I don't know. But being there and feeling the crowd of all that, why can't they just be in a back room with replays, stats, and like 37 angles? I feel like we'd have a lot more.
I think that's where people get the Wizard of Oz kind of idea of like the man behind the curtains just saying, oh, he won. You know, there's at least the illusion.
I couldn't tell you what one judge looks like. Not one. So they sit cage side and we still don't know who they are.
It's true.
We should get a shot, like an establishing opening shot of just Aldo Yamato, so that everybody, so everyone's
You
aware.
see him on the street, slap him.
We don't like Aldo Yamato on this show.
That might be why they don't show what the judges look like, so they avoid getting murked in the streets. I mean,
I'd slap Sal.
I will say
a good one.
Talking about that prelim card for Font versus Aldo, just continuing up a little bit, and following the conversation about Asian promotions, Ryzen's own Manel Cape taking out Zhalgas Zhumagulov in really impressive fashion. I was a bit bearish on Manel when he came into the UFC. It didn't really seem like he was delivering to the extent
Me too.
that people said. He didn't show up. He just wasn't showing up. I think this was this fight where he really put all of the pieces together, and Zhalgas is a tough son of a bitch. I mean, God, that kid can take a lot of damage, but Manel just executing in the way that he did. I mean, I know about Zhalgas's polygamy outside the octagon. 2 women became widows over the weekend.
Bro, Manel, when he had him against the cage, it looked like a Dragon Ball Z scene. How, like,
Literally.
Bam! Like, it was the fastest hands I've ever seen. I'm like,
He smelled blood in the water, bro, and just threw a combo.
He should have been throwing these the whole time.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, shit, I was big wrong. I was calling him Manel Cap because I thought he was Cap. I didn't think he was legit, and he proved me wrong.
Pantoja's a goon. That's a hard first fight. It's a hard first fight.
No, it's true, but just the level of Ryzen and what I expect, he just didn't match it, and I was disappointed. I expected more. Shit, I don't know.
Talking about disappointments, Chris Curtis, the Action Man, closes out 6-0 in 2021. Just, I mean, knocks out Brendan Allen in a fashion that we haven't seen Brendan go out in his UFC tenure. Yeah, I mean, that ruined my parlay. I don't know if anyone else had money on Allen, but I didn't see Curtis doing it again. 1 month removed from his impressive debut, but he gets it done.
You want to know? This is.
We had a mullet parlay.
The mullet parlay got busted
badly. But the one thing I was going to rub in a little bit early was the only parlay I did hit of the night was William Knight on a bullshit decision and Cheyenne Vlietmas. Mm-hmm. That was the only thing I hit. No. I'm just saying I had him money line parlayed with Cheyenne. That was the only thing.
Holy shit.
I'm not that crazy. But I was crazy enough to put Chris Curtis in. But unfortunately, I parlayed that with Clay Guida over 2.5 rounds. And that did not happen because my guy Clay Guida, who I had him money line,
the most Clay Guida fight of all time,
parlayed with Rob Font.
That's a tough parlay. Hey, you were a minute and a half away from that one cashing. Guida get ran to submission, 1 minute, 21 seconds. I mean, I don't know about statistical comebacks, but that has to be up there in the top 5 in terms of just the numbers rallying and rising back from what was a thunderous first round. But Santos, I mean, Jesus, dude, come on. Finish the fight.
You guys remember Anthony Hernandez versus Rodolfo Vieira? That fight? Yeah. This fight was the same way. It was a Brazilian jiu-jitsu legend who came out and threw some power shots and connected. And it was like, oh shit. and then he gasses out his arms, and in the second round, he ends up getting submitted. It's crazy that we've seen it twice like that. Like,
I mean, shout out
literally the same way.
Shout out no nonsense Keith Peterson for understanding who he was in the clay with and knowing that Clay had a long time to go. He had 7 more rounds in him.
Yeah, Dom Cruz
he understood
angry,
the assignment.
No,
guess Dom Cruz don't get that respect.
Just like the Rodolfo fight, man, these BJJ guys almost beat themselves before they get finished. It's like,
I'm saying.
If they had more gas in the tank, probably could have fended off that submission. But, and that's why it's mixed martial arts. You got to find a good balance. You can't get dedicated to power punching or striking or falling in love with the hands like a lot of people like to claim. You have to be able to be patient and stay composed. Santos, I mean, he's an older cat. He's mid-30s, I think. I'm not really sure.
No, he's like,
I thought he was 40. No, I thought he was 40. Like almost as. I thought he was older than Clay.
He is 41.
Yeah, he's older than Clay.
Yeah, never mind. I was gonna say maybe he'll learn from it, but geez, end of your career type performance.
That seems a bit late to be making that mistake in your career. No?
Yeah.
Am I?
Yeah, that's.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's either. I mean, it's so crazy to me.
If you're 23 doing that, I'm cool with that. You have time to learn. Like,
but it is kind of crazy to me how in mixed martial arts, like, people always talk about it, that within their discipline, they can do it all day long. Jiu-jitsu guys can roll all day. Wrestling guys can chain wrestle all day. But then when you start mixing it, when the BJJ guys start throwing hands, when the kickboxer has to start wrestling, like, it's so crazy that, cardio isn't just cardio. It's not just the stamina line on UFC 4. You know what I mean?
Right.
MMA is the most exhausting thing you'll ever do.
Different muscle groups. And it's like, at the end of the day, you got to be able to know your strengths. But moving forward and up the card, I want to talk about a bit of a nightmare at 205, courtesy of some sweet dreams. Jamal Hill finishes Jimmy Crute. I mean, boy, talk about an unexpected one. 4 significant strikes from Hill were needed to get that record up to 9-1. I personally didn't see it happening.
I didn't either, but I'm big on Jamal Hill after that. Like, I can't. There's so many fun matchups for him in that division. Looking at the light heavyweights, I'm like, oh man, because most of them just throw hands. There's not a lot of. I mean, there's a couple wrestlers, but they don't even like to wrestle. So, and I like his odds with a lot of people just standing up. Paul Craig got the nod on him last fight, but besides that, I mean, I can't wait for him to get back from that.
Yeah, that was, I mean, him showing off this type of power against a bigger guy like Jimmy Crute. I mean, I always thought the path for Jamal Hill was going to eventually be to 185, and it still could be. But, I mean, if he's putting down a guy like Jimmy Crute, there's no need to move anywhere.
No. I was impressed because, to me, when I saw the shots live, I'm like, okay, these are clean shots, but they didn't look the most powerful. And then you see them on replay and see the impact of it. It's just like, damn, these are just short, clean, crisp, hard shots. Like, that's going to be tough to beat. And I'm impressed with this range. I hope he doesn't get too hot now and think like he's the bee's knees because he just KO'd Crute. And let's not see him turn into something he's not, That's my only concern with him. But other than that, I like what I saw.
He strikes me as level-headed, and I believe he called out Johnny Walker. I'm unsure if that's completely correct. But I mean, look,
I saw that. That's a great call out.
And it indicates that he's not full of himself. He's not really digging into his own, soda as some might. Johnny Walker's not number 3. He's like what, number 6, number 7? That's respectable in my opinion. That's a good step up. That's not overreaching your value.
Yeah, 100%. And that's something that we have talked about a lot on this podcast before, where it's like sometimes the brightest stars burn the quickest, and some of these guys who get a flash knockout or two and then immediately call their way into the top 5. Or
I don't want to see him be a flash in the pan.
And then it's these guys, like 2 guys we're going to end up talking about at the end of this podcast. When you build the right way, you fight your way through this division and you become champion level, it's different. And it has sustaining, long-lasting power. So,
well, long-lasting power. Rafael Fiziev, wheel kick knockout in the 3rd round. 2 minutes, 20 seconds to go. Absolutely crazy fight. I'm just glad that 2 former sparring partners didn't need beef and could just fucking show up and just throw hands and like still entertain me. I was still entertained as if it was like a rivalry. I loved it. I don't know. What were your thoughts, guys?
I was on edge, man. The entire fight, I was like, ooh, they're throwing so hard, so fast. And you're just like, oh my God, like I can't believe. And Brad Riddell looked, obviously physique won. He got the nod. He'll be moving up, but Riddell looked thick, man. He looked in shape. His back was huge. He looked ready to go, and I think they're both at least top 10 bound. At least they're both.
Oh, right. I am very scared for whoever fights Brad Riddell next, because if they think that he is something lesser than he is because of the fact that Fiziev knocked him out, they're in for a fucking long night.
Yeah, and that's that's just a testament to City Kickboxing. Eugene Behrman and the crew down there have done such a phenomenal job with their top guys. Every time they collided, right? Every exchange was a car crash. So like you mentioned, you can't look away. It's just so impactful, and they're just so high level what they do. And that finishing sequence, there was only one or two real ways that Riddell was going to circle out of that position. Fiziev was either going to throw a left hook to catch him on the break or a spinning attack like that. And, I'm glad that Fiziev didn't follow up in a big way. Herb Dean, grid stoppage for once.
Yep. I saw Fiziev saying that he was throwing some combinations and he would see Brad drop his right hand. And then he was like, that was the telltale sign that I had to throw some spinning shit. And he's like, I just got in the right spot and just spun. And he's like, once I hit him, I knew. And I backed away because I don't want to kill my friend. Right. It's crazy.
He also said that he was saving that attack. Like he had that attack in the bag, but he wouldn't throw it because he knew once he threw it, that was going to be gone. Like he could.
Yeah, the cat's at the bag.
So it's just the levels they're on, like the mental levels of the striking and how many different attacks and what to do and when to do it and when to time it. The levels, it's just insane. We got a little glimpse of that fight.
What they both said pre-fight and what happened is just really interesting because Brad was all like, hey, like most opponents, I have film and I have to study film. This one, I have to study physical confrontation and I have to deal with what happened in those confrontations. Where Fiziev was like, hey, we used to spar back in the day. Let the best man win. So now looking at it, was Fiziev the better one this whole time? You know what I'm trying to say? Like he was like confident, like may the best man win because he knew he had his number. Where Brad's like, oh, I had to think about our physical interactions. It just got me thinking on that kind of wavelength. Once I saw what happened post-fight, you know what I mean?
If we ran that one 10 times, I'm sure it would be back and forth. You know what I mean? So
correct.
Approaches. But this one, definitely.
Well, at least Tiger Muay Thai can say that they upgraded their striking coach slightly.
Now, main event, of course, last week was Font versus Aldo. My biggest question, the X factor for me, was Jose Aldo's cardiovascular system, how he tends to fade quite drastically in recent memory. Goes the full 25 and looks great doing it, boys. What'd you make of that 5-round affair at 135?
Honestly, I thought this was absolutely volume versus power fight. We had someone in Rob Font who was throwing volume and looked good while doing it, but then was getting caught with bigger power punches that ultimately changed the trajectory of the fight. Because it's like, oh, Rob Font's winning this round. Caught. No, he's not winning this round. Power plays in. So that to me is kind of what I took away from this. And like props to Aldo for being this late in his career and saying, you know what, I'm not as athletic. I'm not as, able to just throw off these low leg kicks. I'm going to get back to my roots, just box, use my natural power and try to go from there. And I got to respect that he's evolving with the game.
And I think the scariest part of the evolution happened midway through that fight when he remembered how to throw a leg kick. And then I was like, oh no, boxing Aldo can now throw leg kicks. So, I mean, what's next?
He had Font flying across the octagon half the time. Like I saw the stats and Font outlanded him something crazy. Like at least over 40 significant strikes, he outlanded him in the whole fight. But when the judges see you flying across the cage left and right, you can't get that round. And I was pulling for, I don't know, that was a hard fight. I was a little split there because I want to see Font move up, but I guess the younger UFC person in me wanted to see Aldo keep it up. And to be honest, I want to see Aldo Dillashaw so bad. Like after that, and he called him out, that was like my dream come true. I'm like, yes, like that is the dream fight that I've thought about for years. Like that'd be awesome if they fought. So hopefully TJ says yes.
Following up on your point about the statistics, 149 significant strikes out of 305 thrown for Font, 86 significant strikes for Jose Aldo to 161 that he threw. So it's just a complete difference in terms of Font being more active, but that power that Aldo carries. And what's funny is it wasn't really something that we'd seen in recent memory. I mean, the Aldo in this fight should have blown through chinny Marlon Moraes several fights ago. I mean, we talk about Marlon's absolutely non-existent durability. The shots that Aldo was landing, it's like, dude, why didn't you throw these against Moraes?
Yeah, and like, how did you just? I know it's obviously a different style and a different style of striking, but how'd you just develop power in your year? 35, like 36, whatever.
What was the stats? 150 to 80, basically. They got to make a new type of significant strikes. Those are super significant or something because. That's insane. They can't count the same as those 150 Font through.
There's a spectrum of significance. And it sort of, for me, I look at it, I'm like, Aldo, you could have finished Font on several instances in that fight. I mean, he really could have, I don't want to say go for broke because that's not really the context of the fight, but he really could have peppered some ground and pound and gotten Font out of there. But, I mean, that just, I guess, speaks to the veteran ability that he has these days.
Do you guys agree with Rob Font's take that he thinks on a good day he could beat him, but just that night wasn't his night?
I don't know. Font looked good.
Looked like it was his night. Yeah. That first
I'm just throwing out his take. I don't know if I agree with it or not. I'm just seeing what the word is.
Well, of course, he's not going to come out and say, he's never going to say, oh, yeah, I'm never going to beat Aldo. I could never beat him. Yeah. That I would be shocked if Font said something like that.
No, I agree with that, but I'm just, you know what I mean?
As a dumb Bostonian.
Do you believe him or not? That's all I'm saying.
As a dumb Bostonian, I could believe it because he was still, we just said it, he landed 150 strikes on Aldo. So if he, a couple of those combos are a little crisper, he finishes one more hook on it, or you just hit that right spot, why not? But
here's the thing. I think if it would take a lot of fights for them to have for maybe him to hit him on the button. I just don't think Font possesses that power to really. I mean, he does. Obviously, anybody can get knocked out in any given fight at any given moment, but it didn't seem like those shots were really affecting him. So I feel like could win, but it would have to be on a strategic level, and he would have to really outpoint him. And that's just the way I would see him winning.
What's more concerning for me is less about the striking from Font and the fact that he got blown out of the water in that equation, but the grappling was also something that Font severely lacked. Aldo wasn't advancing positions. He was just sitting there and holding Font down in like rounds, end of round 3, 4, and 5. If I'm Rob Font, I look at that and I go, man, this is bad. If a gassed, exhausted Jose Aldo is holding me down, I can't power out, I can't buck out of these positions. Imagine what a guy like Piotr Jan's going to do. Or even, I don't know about Aljamain. That Sterling and Font would be a great one. I think that's a lot more even. But just these wrestlers in this division, I don't know. That's more concerning to me than the striking from Font.
You think Font could get to 125?
He's got a big frame for 135.
After that fight, it just seemed like he doesn't have the power in that division, and he does have finishes. So, but his finishes come from volume. But I don't know. I think maybe I'm jumping the gun too much because he has been super successful lately.
Maybe. I mean, put him against Merab Dvalishvili and we'll see what happens.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is still where he's sitting right now. There's still a lot of entertaining matchups, and he could be right back in this mixer, and we could have a very different tune of Rob Font real quick.
Yeah. I like him and Cheeto too.
Yeah,
That'd be
that's a good one.
Definitely.
Sign me up for that.
All right. Anything else on last week's card?
Yeah, we covered it.
I think so. New presenting sponsor. We've got Earth Sugar. Let me pull up the ad read here real quick. This podcast is sponsored by Earth Sugar. It's the first of its kind superfood confectionery based right out here in Phoenix, Arizona. It specializes in raw organic desserts, energetic snacks, and clean label confections and adaptogenic pantry items. Use the promo code NOJUDGES to get 25% off all Earth Sugar products, including their limited edition holiday box that contains 4 of their Super Bar Clean Energy bars and 1 of their whole caramel candy microcakes. Their entire gift set is gluten-free, vegan, paleo, and a perfect sweet gift for the family, friend, or high-performing athlete. The thing I will say about this is I am someone who doesn't like any of those like granola, Cliff Bars, anything. And honestly, when I read every ingredient on this, I was like, I don't like this. And I am not a high-performing athlete, but I actually really love these. It's a great snack. They're very filling. They're very healthy. And it's a great either meal replacement or snack replacement. It won't have you going to the Goldfish all day. So that's Earth Sugar, new presenting sponsor. And we will kick that right into the Nilly Newcomer of the Week.
Yes, I got a newcomer. This one is interesting because some people may know this guy from a different realm. So I'm going to bring up the last Renaissance man, Royce White. Royce White was a former All-American basketball player at Iowa State. He was drafted in the first round of the NBA draft by the Houston Rockets. He has a big had a big mental health issue, and he pretty much came at the NBA and was like, why don't you guys address this? He got in issues with them because he wanted his own set of doctors, so he instantly had problems with the Rockets. He had a huge fear of flying on planes, so he tried to set up this whole, like, I'll only play, 50 games, but I got a bus here and there and this shit. Anyways, long story short, NBA's career didn't work out. The guy is now making his pro debut for LFA on Friday. So he's fighting Daquan Buckley, who was a former NFL player. So this guy transitioned into MMA after all this shit. He's got his life figured out now. And I'm excited as fuck to see what happens. Guy was recently in the Big 3 league with Ice Cube.
That's where I knew him from. Okay, I was like, I knew this guy recently.
Scared of plane, but not scared to hop in a cage with Buckley.
I have no idea. No idea. He's fighting a former semi-pro football player in Daquan Buckley. It's a heavyweight fight.
It's different Buckley. It's not the Buckley that did that crazy kick. Never mind.
Yeah.
It's not.
Holy shit! That's his first.
But it's Daquan Buckley. Joaquin Daquan. I could see how you fucked that up on Zoom. Yeah, I'm just interested for this fight. They're both making their pro debut.
I'm excited to see it. I want to see how this guy does. I mean, he did sound kind of the worst in the NBA, wouldn't do this, couldn't do that. But hopefully he's got through that and he's willing to throw down. I'm always willing to watch
I was excited for him as an NBA prospect back when I was big on college basketball, and he was just 6'8", 250 and athletic. And it was damn, they can't stop this guy. He's just quicker than them. And I just want to see how that translates into MMA. And he was known for being one of those tough guys with throw hands. I'm pretty sure he got suspended for throwing punches. He has a boxing background, so I'm sure we'll just see him try and just stand in the middle and slug it out. But I wonder if he's got any tricks up his sleeve.
I'm pumped. Hopefully so it's at the next LFA or just in LFA in general?
It's at the next LFA.
120?
Yeah, LFA 120. I believe it's one of the first fights.
Nice.
Because they're both 0-0 making their debut. But because they're both
they got a name behind them a little bit.
Yeah, they're the fourth fight from the main. So they're up there on the card. Yeah, because they have names. They're probably the first fight of the main card, or like second fight of the main card.
Yeah, so you should be able to catch them on UFC Fight Pass. That's where all the LFA fights are. You can always check them out there. And then moving right into some MMA news. You want to kick it right off with the NFL, WFL, whatever they're doing.
You guys seen this? What the fuck is this World Fight League?
It's
from
what I understand, right? It's a team-based approach. They've got like a season. I saw that they were trying to rope in GSP as like an owner of some Canadian team and things like that. I don't know. I mean, didn't the IFL try this several years back, or some other promotion approach this? They're not really innovative. PFL's got a season that they operate on. But in my mind, more fights are more fights. I think that at the end of the day, there is never enough combat sports promotions in the world, never enough opportunities for these guys to show up and show out. And look, I'm intrigued by it. The fact that Ariel Helwani has been covering it as closely as he has been tells me that there's some big sharks that are lurking in the waters at the WFL, or else Ariel would not give a shit about it. So we'll see.
It just smells like NFL owners who just like pretty much just copied the NFL logo, switched it up a little bit. There is some format. So there's a regular season. There'll be 4 conferences, and there'll be 8 teams in each conference. And they'll pick like the top 8 guys in each weight class to go on to the playoffs. And they're going to have conferences of 1 North America, 2 South America, 3 Europe and Africa, and 4 Asia and Oceania. So they're trying to span the globe. My whole thing is they're all about saying they're going to be a 50-50 split with the fighters. And if you can't draw enough revenue on a pay-per-view, I just don't see how this business plan is ever going to work.
And I'm
money
just very
laundering.
curious.
We're going to launder. We're going to clean some money, baby.
Now we're thinking. But that's where I'm kind of curious about it, because I'm curious on how the roster size would work. You know what I mean? Because I feel like to have enough fighters to properly put on a season and deal with injuries and keep this whole team aspect where everyone has someone for every weight class to fight every time they're scheduled, which I believe is once a month.
Yeah, they said teams would fight once a month, which is just
and
not
then you're
possible.
splitting it 50-50.
Like football, where it's like the Cardinals play every month. It'll be like the Cardinals play like 3 times a year, but then there's going to be other teams playing in between.
No, I mean, maybe my understanding of it was different, but I thought I saw something that each team will play once a month. But
I'm assuming like, let's say 5 weight classes per team. They're not going to send a flyweight once a month. It'd be, Team Dragons have Demetrius at 125 in January, and then they've got John at 185 in February. Like, would it be switched up, or would it be the same idiots?
I believe I think it's team versus team, and all of our fighters in all 8 weight classes fight your fighters in all 8 weight classes. My idea,
the fact that we're having a hard time understanding it, just talking about it, is not a good sign. I mean, that's not too good.
And if this turns into Legends of the Hidden Temple, where it is the Blue Cobras against the Golden Eagles, or the Green Goblins against the Purple Spiders, I'm completely out. I am all the way out on this league.
I'm in. That's where I'm
in. My money's on the Goblins, baby. Rolling big on the Goblins this season.
Was it on Old School? No, the Dodgeball, the like Cobra Gang, the purple guys.
Yeah, the Poker Cobras. Yeah, we can't be doing that shit, bro.
The only way, honestly, the only way I think this actually works is if the teams are gym-based. If the teams are sponsored by a gym and then it's an opportunity for some of their lower level fighters, then they can send them like, all right, whoever's Sanford's 125er, like they have plenty, and that's where you can get replaceability. All right, you want me to? All right, let it fail.
For me, I'm withholding an opinion necessarily. Like, I'm really not jumping to any conclusions about it. I'm not closing the door on it. I'm not opening the door on it until there's just more information that they've released. It's very, very early days. I mean, they said they're going to get their roster next year, and then January 5th, 2023 is when they're going to start. Or
that's what they're saying. I have way too many early 2000s XFL vibes where all they had was they had a half-ass idea and a shitty logo. And at least the XFL had a slightly better logo. And then they were like, we'll get players next year. And then 2 years from now, we're playing. And it's like, what are you playing? And they're like, we'll figure that out.
Yeah, it's building an airplane as you're flying through the air. So I don't know. I mean, I
shouldn't have told anybody yet. Maybe they should have just kept it on the down low for like 6 more months.
Probably.
Yep.
It probably would have been a good idea.
They just picked the wrong time to introduce themselves. And I just want to have the hot take that this shit won't work, and I'm going to ride that to the bank.
Hey,
I don't think it'll end up that hot. Yeah, no.
True.
Fair.
All right, let's get into it.
Other MMA news before we
I would say maybe rooting back to LFA, Carlos Mota-Tizil getting the LFA flyweight title shot. That was confirmed earlier today, I believe, or yesterday. I'm high on Carlos. Carlos is great, good bud, and has so many skills. I firmly believe he was snubbed. He should have gotten a contender series spot. In my opinion, he's undefeated, has just looked impeccable since. So I'm hoping that he raises that flyweight throne whenever the fuck that fight takes place. I don't know what it is.
He's taking on Charles Johnson, yeah?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's my guy from the that's my guy from the Tiger Muay Thai YouTube series.
That'll be a tough fight, and that's kind of always a tough thing, and it's an interesting thing as we've seen with the Contender Series. And not that that's the only entrance into the UFC, obviously, but it is an interesting thing that some people who just click basically in the quote-unquote off-season of Contender Series don't get their opportunities as quickly as some guys who just maybe got a flash knockout that caught somebody's eye in October and it just worked out.
There he is. My
There
man,
he is.
Alex Bahunin. What a great journalist.
Whole angle.
Oh,
That, yeah,
trash.
that was like a slanted. The glare
Yeah,
was
garbage. But yeah, it's Carlos
We'll post it
Mota
on our Twitter.
finally getting a shot taking on Charles Johnson at LFA 122 on January 1st.
Ooh, that's their New Year's card.
Sorry. 21st.
Oh, okay.
I'm blasted. Sorry. I can't get the angle right. Can't get the date. So much for my commentating career.
Anything else on the news?
No news is good.
For how many
news, I
fights
guess.
there were, it was a quiet week.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
trying to see if they've added anything to the 18th, but no.
Nothing really happened. I mean, Kevin Holland called out Nick Diaz. So
That was
this is
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, that was odd. I never know why people want to. I mean, it's always a check, but like fighting a Diaz just seems like a bad idea. Like it's gonna be long. You're gonna take injury. You might win, but like the fans won't give a fuck. Like, why would you want to fight him outside of pure cold hard cash?
I'm a huge Diaz fan, and even in loss, we still win. It's amazing. It's the only fighter that still wins, even if you lose, because he can slap you one time, and it's like, all right, yep, got that in. Yeah, we gotta win. Let's go.
Let's hop into some fucking pre-fight diaries, bro.
Before that, we got to get our second presenting sponsor.
Let's
Grab
get
it,
it.
bag, Matty P. No judges necessary is also presented by Costa Clothing, the hottest streetwear and high fashion brand coming out of the Bay Area in California. They specialize in a range of quality backpacks and accessories. Acosta has been worn by some of the top MMA fighters such as Dom Cruz, Mean Hakeem Dawodu, and our boy Ray Waters. You can find them at acostaclothing.com or on Instagram at Acosta Clothing. But let's get into it. Some pre-fight diaries. The last pay-per-view of the year, UFC 269.
All right, we're starting the first fight out. We got the female flyweight division. We got Priscila Cachoeira, 10-3 out of Brazil, taking on Jillian Robertson, 9-6 out of Canada. This is an interesting fight. What are opening bout thoughts, fellas?
Yo, I always pull up Google for going through the fights with you. They don't even have a name.
Yep. No picture.
It's
No
Jillian
picture, no name.
Robertson with no picture, no name who she's fighting. This is hilarious. What is going on?
Well,
A lot of disrespect from the world's renowned search engine on Priscilla. It's interesting when you look at the odds. I mean, Jillian's at like what, minus 400 right now. It's quite inflated to her side. I will say she trains with Dean Thomas, I believe. She's one of his fighters. And to me, that's all I need to know. So I'm putting money on Jillian.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I don't like minus 400 to start the card. That's just usually something I'm big against. I don't know how well that's worked out if you've done the math on it, but yeah, I like 10
Does it
and
make
3.
you feel better that the Barstool Sportsbook has her at minus 360?
No, it doesn't make me feel anything.
Just for the hell of it, I'm gonna go with the Google locked fighter who is unknown yet. You have to unlock her.
It's a Lego Star Wars. You got to complete the campaign to get Priscilla Cachoeira.
And you actually get a really cool character, the zombie.
It's obviously a good character. I'm going with her. Let's do it.
Yeah, cool nickname too for that character you just unlocked, Zombie Girl. And you unlocked a plus 275 money line.
I also like how Matty P goes off future records. I could so see 11-3 and 9-7.
Yeah.
I love going off the numbers.
Like the numbers totally add up.
Those are, and I know Bane, you're new to how we break down fights. That's about as deep as we get into analytic stats.
Yeah, I tend to think of what could I see their record being next. I'm like, 10-3. I could see 11-3, and that's
fair.
It works sometimes.
I will say for some of these fights, I have a bit of notes because I did a betting thing a couple days ago, and so I've got like random fights where I'm just uber prepped, but a lot of these I don't have.
Let's go.
Hey, give us what you got.
Well, that's one. Yeah, this is one that I've got a bit of a big one. Randy Costa versus Tony Kelly. Zohan versus an interesting opponent. So for me, I look at Randy's wins, 6-2. All 6 have been first-round finishes. So fast starter, man. I mean, he comes out of the gate swinging and tries to get him out of there. We know that the Adrian Yanez fight, a lot of people talk about the cardio issues. Gas pretty bad. Yanez jumps on the finish. I will say the atmosphere surrounding that fight was unmatched by many fights this year. Maybe Costa was trying to perform to the expectation. That might have led to him gassing out a bit early. Who knows? Tony Kelly, on the other hand, 3 of his 7 wins have been first-round finishes. So my pick for this, under 1.5. I think it ends early, and I think Costa's going to get the nod. 7-2 is what I believe for Zohan. Am I picking him partially because I bought tickets to UFC 269 off of him? Absolutely. 1,000,000%.
All right.
Really? Well, how'd you get those tickets?
I Snapchatted him.
That's awesome. No, I love him on Twitter. I think he's one of the best fighters. And I do actually have to think about that. Do you think that the lead up to that fight and the build up on Twitter and it being Dr. Pepper versus Reese's, do you think his nutrition levels may have had something to do with that? And as I've seen leading up to this one, Tony Kelly is not nearly as active on Twitter, nor pushing him to eat as many Reese's. So I think that the gas tank and the cardio and the fitness might be a little better. And I actually agree with you. I think Randy gets a quick finish.
I wonder if the bounce...
It's interesting. Kelly's never been stopped by strikes. That's one anecdote of this one that I think is interesting. So do make that what you will.
Right. But I think it's also something that I fall into this trap all the time where it's like, yeah, these guys with 9 fights and have only fought in the UFC a handful of times have never been finished until they are, But
Tony Kelly gives me big backyard barbecue fight vibes and just like drunk uncle vibes and just, he's tough to knock out. He's going to stay there. Like everyone thinks they can beat Tony Kelly until you step in front of him. And then it's a problem. I think this is a back and forth fight, but I do agree. I think Costa's probably fought higher level of competition. I think the last fight did play a factor that it was back and forth verbal exchange. He wanted to prove something, but I wonder if that plays with his head. Now this is the bounce back fight. How does he respond? I think we're really going to find out a lot from Costa, but I do like I don't know if I like under 1.5 rounds, but I don't think this fight goes the distance.
Under 1.5 rounds is actually even on the Barstool Sportsbook. Not going the distance, minus 240. I think that's a pretty good favorite. Yeah. I mean, maybe sprinkle into a parlay on that because it's...
Watch, it's going to be like Tony Kelly by split, and we're all going to be like, fucking hell.
Jesus Christ. Next fight.
Next fight, we got the submission specialist Ryan Hall, 8-2 out of the USA, taking on Derek Minner, 26-12, also out of the USA in the men's featherweight division. Fellas, we got opening bell thoughts.
I don't like Derek Minner. I think he spells his name stupidly. He uses too many goddamn letters that are unnecessary in there. And I don't like him.
And
an extra C.
The A's weird. I get it.
A-I.
No, there's 2 R's on Topology.
Yeah, there's 2 R's.
One of the R's is unnecessary. The A is weird. Fuck this guy. No, I'm kidding. I think Hall's got to be the huge favorite here, but I think people are slipping on Derek or Derek or however you say that, because this dude can grapple, and this is going to be a grappler's delight. And I wouldn't say Minner doesn't have a chance in this one, because I think he does. I think it's going to be a closer fight than people think.
See, I honestly think he doesn't have a chance in this one because he is a bit of a grappler. Well, mostly his name. But outside of that, even when I tried to do some research so I could just back up my blind takes, he is a grappler and he will grapple. But people who I think are equal or lesser grapplers have submitted him. Grant Dawson, Herbert Burns, Jordan Griffin on the amateur sit at LFA. Like, he's been submitted quite a bit. So,
but when you look at his wins, 22 of 26 by submission. I believe that's the stat. I don't have it in front of me. So while he gets submitted, 8 of his 12 have been submission. He also has subbed many people. So it's like a weird back and forth. I'm not confident in it, but I think Ryan Hall's approach to fights is just, I mean, it's interesting.
I think, and where I look at it, though, even though he has a lot of submissions on his record, most of his submissions are against strikers, like a Terrence McKinney or TJ Laramie, like guys who didn't really want to be on the ground with him. It seems like anyone who wants to be on the ground with him and is going to be on the offensive usually has his number.
This is one of the few fights where I see a guy with more wins and more losses than the other guy has fights combined, and I'm still not with the experience. I think the experience factor almost plays against him. It's like, you've been submitted by guys, I'm going to take the submission guru until I see otherwise. I could be horribly proven wrong. I do think he has a chance. I'm not completely counting him out, but
honestly, I thought Hall might have been a bigger favorite.
He like rolls on the ground.
I got Ryan Hall.
Necessary, and I'm like, but that was just the last fight. Ryan Hall still and apparently a fantastic mind going into it. I've heard from other fighters saying that he's like crazy thought out about every single thing. So I'm not going to put a lot or probably anything on this fight. I'll probably just watch it as a fan because I really have no clue. But I'm just saying I don't think.
Oh, this fight terrifies me. Minus 215. This is going to be the favorite that sneaks its way into most of my parlays.
I got Ryan Hall. He's training at a TriStar gym and got Firas Sahabi in his corner. Yeah, we're taking this guy.
No.
Yeah, I'll bet on Hall too. I like Derek in the sense where he does have so much experience, and so I'd want to rely on that veteran nature. But yeah, I don't know. I think Hall gets done. I feel like he's a much better striker. It's so unconventional, right? When you fight him, unless you are able to just avoid all the games that he wants to play, you're typically going to lose. I mean, you look at the Darren Elkins fight, and Hall was just lighting him up. You look at the BJ Penn fight, quick Imanari roll into a heel hook submission. I imagine that, one of those Imanari rolls is going to land on Minner, and it's going to go to the ground, and then whether it be a heel hook or some other submission, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen.
Big rat.
Hey, you want to know something weird? At a jiu-jitsu match, Nate Diaz subbed Ryan Hall.
So put all my money on Derek Minner is what I'm hearing.
No, I'm staying away. I like to play the devil's advocate on this one. I think I'm not saying Derek will win. Like, if you put a gun in my head, I'll probably still be like, let's do Ryan Hall. Vegas probably knows more than me. But I think it's a little closer than what the odds are giving it.
Fair. I mean, if you do take Minner, you're getting plus 170.
I'm not.
Next fight,
we're talking flyweight division. We got Alex Perez, 24-6 out of the USA, taking on Matt Schnell, 15-6, also out of the USA. What are we thinking?
Hey, every single fight card, there's a fight where it's like the exact same two people are fighting, and this is that fight. This is the one where these two remind me of each other so much for some reason, and it's just like the twins are fighting basically to me.
Referencing the DraftKings sporting book, minus 335 for Alex Perez, big favorite for the number 4 ranked flyweight. Curious that they have a top 5 flyweight contesting on the early prelims. That's weird. I think same amount of losses, 9 more wins to Alex Perez. I'm just going to go with the big favorite here. Don't know too much about him. I think Perez just lost to Davison Figueiredo. That was his most recent outing. So. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just gonna bet on the line.
He came off the Contender Series. He had didn't he?
Yeah, he got 3 quick wins, and then he fought Figueiredo 10 days after the fucking first Moreno fight. He fought Figgy about a year ago this time, and he got starched and got in a guillotine and lost.
Yeah,
and everyone thought Figgy was untouchable. That's the guy. And I think that's enough to beat Matt Snell. That fight and the experience of fighting Davison Figueiredo for the belt on quick notice or whatever it was, that to me smells like enough to beat Matt Danger Snell.
Yeah, I think Snell's tough enough to make this fight entertaining, but I don't know if he has enough to win it.
I don't know. They remind me of each other for some reason. Maybe not really now that I look at them, but. I think this fight will be a good over a couple rounds. I feel like they're both go decisions especially when they win. So
wow, over 2.5 rounds is minus 177. Big favorite.
Yeah, I could see it going the distance or over a couple rounds like that for sure.
Definitely. Anything else or next fight?
Next fight. This fight, honestly, reminds me of 2 girls I went to high school with that fought each other. We got Erin Blanchfield, 7-1 out of the USA, taking on Miranda Maverick, 9-3, also out of the USA, female flyweight division. Yeah, interesting fight.
I gotta say something. Miranda, terrible nickname. Fear the Maverick. Maverick in itself is such a cool name. You could play so much off it, and you just failed miserably.
Yeah.
I don't know why. For that reason alone, I'm going huge on Erin. No, I honestly don't know. I mean, Erin's had 1 fight, I think.
Cold-blooded.
So I think Miranda Maverick and Macy Barber fought. Barber got a decision, and it should have been Mavericks. Was that her last outing? I'm not sure. I didn't really look at either.
That was pretty sure.
Yeah. She looked fine in it. I mean,
split decision loss. That's rough.
Yeah. Macy Barber fights the air more often than she fights her opponent, so it doesn't tell me much. But I'll just go with Maverick on this one. More experience. Yeah. She's a slight favorite. Yeah.
Not to be too mean here, but this is the fight where I'm gonna go get some food and bring it back so we can get it.
Oh no!
So he's gonna go snack on his Earth sugar.
No, for real. There's always a fight like that. On the last one, let me see who it was. It was
she beat Sarah Alpar. If you're talking Blanchfield,
sure.
It was the last fight. It was the Gritzmacher fight. That was when I went and got some B-dubs real quick and brought it home. There's always a fight where I gotta go grab some food real quick, and this will be the fight for me. So count me out, boys.
Well, you better pre-order that B-dubs because you are not going to want to miss the next fight. Your boy, our boy, Eric Anders, 14-5, taking on Andre Muniz, 21-4. This is going to be an absolute banger.
Honestly, one of my favorite parts of watching Eric Anders fight, and low-key one of my favorite entrances and just general shit, is when Bruce Buffer says, "Ya boy." That's the best part.
Yes. And
boy.
Shout out to Ray Waters, one of my homeboys. He's out there in Vegas with Eric right now, getting them all ready for this fight. So hopefully he can maybe sneak. I'm like, Ray, why don't you send me a little something so I know who to bet on here? Because he gets to see him all at the hotel and stuff. I'm like, who's looking bad? So hopefully he'll send us a little something. I'll let you guys in. But yeah, gotta go big on your boy. How not? I mean, the other guy's fighting scares me a little bit though, because I'm pretty sure he's a jiu-jitsu guy. But your boy's been working heavy at Fight Ready with wrestlers like Ray working on takedown defense. So as long as he can keep it on the feet,
This cat Muniz just submitted Jacare Souza.
Yeah, I've got some numbers on this one, boys. Let me unpack for you. 4 of Andre Muniz's last 6 wins are submission wins. He's on a 7-fight win streak currently. 14 of 21 overall wins are by sub. So you mentioned BJJ. Muniz absolutely fills that spot. Him by submission is currently at plus 140, money line minus 135. I don't know. Eric Anders, 3-4-1 in his last 8. He's never been submitted, to his credit, never tapped out. But interesting mixed results in the last several years for your boy. I'm a huge fan of him. I think that no contest against Darren the Dentist was a weird one in which he was dominating, and then came out with a much more grapple heavy approach at UFC's 263 in their rematch. Muniz has lost by TKO or KO 4 times. All of his losses, he's been finished. So I think if you're going to bet by Anders, bet by finish. He's got power. He can absolutely land on Muniz. But in my mind, the smarter approach would probably be either Muniz money line or by submission.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe it's just not going the distance would be a smart one. I think what's going to be key here, like I said before, is the wrestling. If Muniz can get it to the ground and put together a takedown, I think you're right. I think that's where Anders will probably have the most struggles. But besides that, I think on the feet, I think Anders probably have the one up on the hands, but
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, this could be a bit of a hot take because you wouldn't probably want to opt for the ground against a jiu-jitsu specialist, but I could see some offensive wrestling out of Eric Anders where he tries to put Muniz on his back foot, stick him on his back, and you got to obviously watch things like triangles and arm bars from the bottom, but I think even position over submission, and if Eric Anders can get on top of him, I think the power of him could really, he could get to some really dominant positions when Muniz is trying those submissions.
And I'm incredibly biased on this fight, so I'm going to not going to be putting it in too many parlays.
No, we're getting a nice plus 120 on your boy. We'll single bet that. We don't need to worry about it.
Next fight. We got Bruno Bulldog Silva, 21-6. It's not Bulldog?
The other Bruno Silva. We do this every single podcast.
Wait. Go on. All right, so someone else do this fight. Fucking hell.
Beverly Hills Ninja Jordan Wright, 12-1 overall, 12 finishes in his 12 wins, which is interesting. Taking on Bruno Silva. Silva, a killer in his own right. I don't know. I mean, 4 of Silva's last 6 wins have been first-round finishes. All 6, though, have been knockouts. 5 of his 6 losses have been submission losses. Him by KO in round 1 sits at plus 120, or in general at the money line. Just general to knockout Jordan Wright is minus 175. So the betting public believes that Wright's going to get finished for the second time in the UFC. We'll see if he can do it. Wright by win in round 1 submission plus 1,800. Finish in general plus 425. And by sub in general at plus 1,000. I don't know. I've got mixed thoughts on this one. Jordan Wright has a very karate-style approach. He's fought some absolute fucking dump trucks on the regional scene. I mean, just cans. Like, the 10-26 type guys, 0-10. So, while he is 12 wins with 12 finishes, I'm like, dude, you're beating up the fucking Domino's delivery guy. So, I don't know. I feel Silva's going to add another knockout to his resume.
Yeah, I will say, I think the thing that scares me is, to give you a little more insight to the pod, Bane, there are 2 Bruno Silvas in the UFC. One of them is Bulldog Silva. This is not him. So basically his last 2 fights in the UFC, we were like, oh, this guy isn't even Bulldog. This is the bullshit Silva. And we bet against him.
No. We joined the squad now. We brought him in.
Did we?
I'm pretty sure.
After that last fight, we brought him in? Okay.
Yes.
It's been hard to keep up with.
Jordan Wright just looks like somebody who's about to get fucked up. I don't know what it is.
Just finna get an ass beat.
You said
I can't bet on this man.
Oh, shit.
Bruno Silva looks like he's about to fuck somebody up. So based on those stats in my head, I'm going with Bruno Silva. First round.
I'm betting this fight not to go the distance.
Yeah,
just because like
getting
12
any
fights,
real
12
odds on
finishes.
this. Minus 455 to not go the distance.
Yikes.
So
Bruno
not a
Silva
lot of
in round
value.
one.
Not a lot of value on a finish at 185 in this prelim opener. But I mean, yeah, to your point, Jordan looks like someone that should be playing with Legos right now, not someone who should be fighting a killer like Bruno Silva.
Negative.
Beverly Hills Ninja, man.
Fucking hate that nickname.
Come
on, you don't have to rub it in that you live in Beverly Hills, you douchebag.
We get it. We get it.
We get it.
But talking about two guys that are killers, and you know what? If they want to rub it in, go for it. Tai Tuivasa, 13-3, taking on Augusto Sakai, 15-3-1. The big boys are banging. What do we got, boys?
This is a thumper. I mean, it's going to be two heavyweights that come in the middle and just try to throw hands. I don't really expect this to be much more than a kickboxing match. And I think it's going to be pure chaos, and I'm for it.
You know what I got to say? I usually, it's usually always us versus the book. I got to give some great credit to the book on this one. Minus 112, minus 112. They know this one's going to be fun, and they're just saying, hey, pick the guy who you would like to bet on.
Yeah, this is a bark once for Ask Your Dog fight. Bark once for Tuivasa, bark twice for Sakai. Like, it's just...
I want to know...
Ask your grandma.
I want to know Bane's opinion because obviously on this podcast, we are huge Thai fans. You know what? I'm pretty sure the whole world is huge Thai fans if you watch UFC at all.
Or have ever drank a beer.
Or have ever drank a beer.
Yeah, or have balls.
I want to know what you think because this fight kind of scares me, to be honest, thinking about
our
boy.
I don't know. What's scary about Augusto Sakai? Uninspiring performance against Jairzinho Rosenstrike gets dominated by Alistair Overeem and Overeem's last gasp in the UFC. I just am not overall impressed with 15-3-1. Augusto Sakai. Tai Tuivasa, on the other hand, really impressed by him. Taking out Greg Hardy in the way that he did is interesting. Hardy is a bulldozer inside the octagon and outside. But I think that, the fact that he was able to neutralize an offensive threat in the fashion that he did speaks, so much to Tui's ability. So I'm anticipating a couple shoeies on Saturday night. Let's go with Tai Tuivasa, baby.
Let's fucking go. I knew I liked Baines. I knew. All right. Welcome to the podcast. Let's go. And you're getting a little extra juice at plus 140 on the knockout. Let's fucking go, Ty.
That's sweet right there.
He's been
free
training
money,
a lot
baby.
with,
free money.
He's been training a lot with Gokhan Saki out in Dubai, and I think the leg kicks and that like Muay Thai realm is really going to pay off. We saw it in the fight against Hunsucker when he fucking destroyed him and dude fell over. As soon as he got up, bam, and that was the fight. So I want to see more of that play out. I think that could be a big factor. Sakai's big, overweight, just coming in, leaning heavy on his feet. Let's take his fucking legs out.
I agree.
I like it.
Next fight.
This one's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Go on.
You want to take this one, Baines?
Sure, I'll load it up. Former champion Dominic the Dominator Cruz coming back in against the young Punisher, Pedro Munoz. Munoz coming off of a tough loss to Jose Aldo, got outboxed for the majority of 15 minutes. Dominic Cruz, a decision win over Arizona's own Casey Kenny. I don't know. There's a couple factors at play here that I got to consider. One of them being the leg kicks of Pedro Munoz. I mean, he showed in that Jimmy Rivera fight that when he dedicates downstairs, he can really debilitate your movement, your agility. And as we all know, that's Dominic Cruz's sweet sauce, is his entries and exits. So if Pedro Munoz just kills the calves of Cruz, I mean, that's an easy finish for him inside the distance, I believe. But Dominic Cruz to win by decision at plus 175. That's the one that's enticing me. Munoz has gone to the judges' scorecards in his last 4, has lost 3 of those fights. Cruz has gone to a decision in 4 out of his last 5, winning 60% of the time. So I'm laying the money on the former champion. I believe that he's just got the tools to get it done here tonight. I think it's going to look similar to the Casey Kenny fight. Both Munoz and Kenny, dangerous strikers, got a lot of power, But if you can't land, it does not fucking matter.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I think this fight, obviously this is such a stacked card, so it is placed where it is. But I think Pedro Munoz, if this was a weird fight night main event and had 5 rounds to work, maybe could kind of find the range. But I think it's going to be just a little too late. Maybe a late in the second round, third round finish for Munoz. But I'm kind of with you. I don't know if he's going to be able to find him unless, he can land. I mean, he has to land 15 to 20 leg kicks in the first round, or else he'll never find Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, and I look back to that Edgar fight, and Edgar's footwork was able to kind of get around and move around, pace him out, and he ended up getting the nod. It was super close, though. It could have gone either way. But I could see it kind of being similar to that. If Cruz could get a head out on scorecards, I think it's a coast. You just get a head out, get a couple strikes ahead of him, and just coast your way through that decision. I don't see him knocking Pedro out. Pedro's just went 3 or 5 with Aldo. No, it was 3. Just went 3 with Aldo. Yeah, I agree. Dominic decision is my idea.
I'll say this. I'll bring this up. Cruz's recent statements on Daniel Cormier's commentating ability pissed me off. So I wouldn't mind seeing, Dom get blown through by Pedro Munoz.
Did you see the video after, though, where they were together talking about
the sit down?
It?
Yeah, that was fucking hilarious, dude. I loved it.
Hilarious.
That's a good bit.
Maybe I'm dumb as fuck. It took me until this beef to realize they were both DC.
Huh. DC versus DC? No, Bisping, I listened to his podcast, and he's talked about Dominic Cruz before and how they always go at it each other. So Dom's one of those guys that you just know doesn't have a filter, and he's just gonna let it fly, man. So at first I was like, whoa, why would you say that about DC? But then when he's in front of DC saying it right to his face too, I'm like, all right, respect. I'll give it to you a little bit.
Fair enough.
I feel like I always forget how good Dom Cruz is every time he steps back in the octagon. He's been around since the early days,
I believe.
Yeah, literally. And he's fought the who's who. I just feel like every time he steps back in, I'm like, damn, I forgot that his footwork and switching ability and just landing volume was as crisp as it always has been. And I feel like that's going to be a big factor in this fight. I don't think Munoz has one punch KO ability. I think he's got to be able to set and find himself. I think he's going to look confused for a lot of this fight. And in the second and third round, we're going to hear the corner be like, you got to go. We got to see you fire more. And he's just out there Tyrone Woodleying it, just, trying to find himself and just never threw. I think it's going to be like if Munoz just threw, maybe he would have won, but kind of fights.
Yeah, but sticking on the DC stuff, I kind of wanted to talk this with Baines. What was kind of your take on that of the entertainment versus the analytics on the mic?
You look at the category that the UFC resides in, and it's sports entertainment. So I think that there is a place for these different personalities. I mean, you talk about the most notable UFC commentator, Joe Rogan, literally is a fucking comedian that went on tour many, many times and has a world-renowned podcast. So I think the UFC recognizes the marketability of a pleasurable viewing experience. You don't want to load up your booth with guys who are just purely going to talk about the action and unpack it and dissect it, because while that's great for a specific audience, what captures the larger market is fun guys who you can maybe relate to on the booth and laugh along with for certain moments. And that's why you see so much palling around between Bisping and DC. And I get the comments about them getting off track, and I empathize with it. And I respect Dom's ability on the booth to be analytical and be objective and unpack, and everyone gets educated. But for me, it's just a time and a place. I would never, if I was in his position and I was friends with Daniel Cormier, I would never say that to the media and just kind of throw him out to the wolves. I would probably say something along the lines of, I wish he integrated his research a bit more. I wish his prep was reflected in his commentating style a bit more, but that's as far as I would go. I wouldn't full out say I mute the fucking broadcast and, say he doesn't do his homework or things like that.
It's
I would address it to him privately. I feel like it's a time and a place. And look, I respect Cruz for staying the same, right, to the media and then to DC directly. But it feels a bit egotistical and it rubs me the wrong way. And that's how Dom Cruz has always felt to me. Just a bit.
Yeah, my two things on that, and I know this is the world we live in where basically no one is honest other than pretty much this podcast and a few other people out there. But in the media, people now just get applauded for honesty. And I'm like, I appreciate the honesty, but that doesn't mean you're not an asshole. That doesn't change that. And then on the second fact of it, I actually prefer entertaining commentators on UFC fights because if the fight is entertaining in its own right,
they don't need to talk.
I don't really pay much attention to them, and they're just trying to catch up with the strikes that are happening. And then on the semi-less entertaining fights, I need them to carry that. So I don't really need the analytics in the high-level fights. I mean, it's nice, and I still want you to have
DC's
some
like, yo,
idea.
he's fucking him up bad, Joe. Oh, like, that shit's great, dude.
Yeah,
Come
I
on,
enjoy
like,
that.
you're
Like, you know what I
telling
mean?
me?
It
Like,
makes you feel
It's
more
better
part
than,
of it.
I think Connor's gassing out
Hard.
Khabib here. I think Connor's gassing out Khabib by getting smashed on the bottom here.
Yeah. Oh, Andrade can't lift a rose right there. Thud. New champion.
Yeah.
That's almost that's as
she
bad,
heard
if
it.
not worse. Yeah, it's I don't
Yeah,
know. I mean,
That's the one John Cruz
I want
thing.
to see DC and Cruz do the next card together and just have them.
Well, I mean,
That'd
look,
be
it's
great.
reflected in UFC's booking. When the fuck has Dominic Cruz been calling a fight? I can't recall the last time he was on a broadcast. DC become a staple, you know what I mean, of these pay-per-views and fight nights. And I think that shows what the brass think. I think that's hilarious. I think that's so fucking funny. It transports you there. As a fan, it transports you cage side because you get to vicariously live through DC and his persona and his ability to be personable, which is ultimately, in my mind, better for a brand and sports entertainment company than, analytics and ego small man syndrome.
Well, yeah.
So then we need Snoop Dogg on the mic.
Huh?
Snoop
So then we need Snoop Dogg on the mic. The Snoop
Dom
cast,
is
yeah.
so analytical though. So Dom's probably looking at it from only his perspective. Like DC doesn't know what he's talking about. Where it's like the 90% of people watching this are going to be like, I don't even care about what a Kimura versus an armbar and all this shit is. I would rather laugh and have a good time with what I'm doing. So yeah, it may not be appealing to Dom Cruz and the 0.1% of the world, but the 99 who don't know what the hell's going on to that degree are going to just have a good time with DC. You're right. It's way more.
And let's be real. That 1% that is upset about the broadcast will never stop watching fights. That 1% is going to watch fights until they die. So ESPN and the big people who are actually making those calls don't give a shit about that audience because those hardcore guys are going to watch the fight, say their shit on Twitter, and watch next week. And that's it.
And it doesn't drive up revenue. What drives up revenue is increasing your market share of the mixed martial arts viewing space. And having guys like DC in there and his style is just ultimately more beneficial to that than Dom Cruz. I mean, look, like I said, with all of these promotions, WFL, if they get up going, that's another event that people would potentially watch over UFC. So you have to pick the best product. And I don't know. Like I said, it just speaks for itself. Dom Cruz hasn't called shit in a while, whereas DC gets these consistent opportunities, both at the weigh-in show and he's got DC and RC. I mean, there is a fucking reason why they give this guy so much.
Right.
Well, you want to talk about a fight that excites me and shit that helps the promotion? The next fight's one of them. We got, let's see here, Josh Emmett, 16-2 out of the USA, taking on 50K Dan Ige, 15-4 in the featherweight division. Great fight. Both guys have extreme power. Both guys are killers with finishes across the board. We've seen Josh Emmett fight the who's who. He's gone the distance with Jeremy Stevens, was a bananas fight. He seems to somehow always get seriously injured in a fight. He tore his ACL. He fractured his elbow, and he still fights the distance. This, to me, is going to be potential of fight of the night written all over it.
Small correction. Stevens did kill Emmett. That was the left hook, and then that's why.
No, it was. But I'm just saying it was a war. I'm saying it was a war. I'm not saying he beat him.
This is my lock of the night. This is my lock of the night. I only get one lock of the night, and this is it. I love Dan Ige here. I love Dan Ige here. I think he's faster, and I think he's going to get out of the way of those heavy shots by Emmett. And Ige has proven himself in this division. Emmett's been gone for a while, dealing with every single problem in his health that you can. I don't know. He's gotten every variant of COVID twice, and he's gotten both knees shattered, and he's gotten his back broke. He's gone through too much shit, and I think Ige, he's right. And I think he's so fast. I think he's going to be able to get in and out of the way.
I disagree in a big way. I think that Josh Emmett's wrestling is far better than Dan Ige's. I mean, we saw what the Korean Zombie could do to Ige over 5 rounds, just completely neutralized him and made for the most forgettable main event of 2021. And I just think Emmett takes that up a notch with the power punches. Once, he gets started, it's hard to stop him. And while I think 50K brings a punch, I mean, shit, I think he should be called Dynamite Dan with how he killed Gavin Tucker. But I don't know. I think Emmett's going to come back in a big way. He takes the time off that he needs to. You see guys in this sport rush back to the octagon. They want to get back inside in front of the fans and in a fight, and they don't really address their injuries. Josh Emmett's one of the few that is okay taking a long time off, recovering completely, and coming back looking even better. That Shane Burgos fight, which I believe is free on YouTube, which I'll be viewing later tonight, because that shit's porn for MMA, fans, because it's just such good striking. He hit Burgos clean so many fucking times that I just think if he lands that same amount on Dan Ige gonna be sleeping.
Oh, I agree with that.
We got very differing opinions. I think I don't know what it is. This is the one where it is my gut. Maybe not the mind, but my gut. And I'm wrong on him too, so I'm not saying
Ige's giving me vibes of somebody who is either going to change weight classes or is going to take 1 or 2 more L's and then go on a nice run and be like, cement himself as like, I was here for a decade. I fought everyone. This just seems a little too early. Emmett's got some experience, got more power. I agree with Bane on this one. I think he takes the time off, like he's saying.
If Emmett uses wrestling, I think you got it right. But
I think it's even the fakes, even the fake of reaching for your leg and then coming over the top, just mixing it in. He doesn't have to go all out. I think that could be a big factor in this fight. If he puts Ige on his back foot, which I expect him to do, I think it's pretty much done for Ige. Or downhill. Not done. Downhill. I'll give Ige that respect.
If Emmett wins, I think it's knockout for sure. But I don't see Ige getting knocked out. I think Ige is going to have to win it on points here. So I think, I don't know. This is the one that I got. This is my
Just find your way to the judges. I mean, if you can find your way to the judges with Ige, I think you got a good chance in it. Because especially, like we were kind of talking about with the cage side judging, is Dan Ige does bring that excitement, and he's definitely a fan favorite. So if it is a close fight, he'll probably have the volume numbers. He'll probably have a few ahs and oohs. I can kind of see him stealing a decision at it. And a plus 135 lock is bold, and I like that.
I could see Josh Emmett at 16-3, and that plays a big factor into my decisions.
That's fair. I could see you get 16-4. Next fight.
Someone take over.
We've got.
This is an interesting one. The Sugar Show, right? Sean O'Malley versus Raulian Paiva. Paiva was ranked 15, I think, and then they snatched that ranking away from him, which is weird. So the unranked champion O'Malley still contesting with those that are fringe top 15, 14-1 with that asterisk. Look, I don't know.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let me fix that.
This is an interesting one in the sense where Sean O'Malley win by decision at plus 215, win by KO or TKO or DQ plus 110. His last 5 fights have ended in KO or TKO finishes, 70% finish rate by KO. So look, if you're thinking that Sean's going to add to the highlight reel, a lot of money there for you. Under 2.5 overall is minus 130. Raulian Paiva. Last outing was a win over Kyler, the Matrix Phillips, another Arizonan guy. Split decision loss to Kai Kara France, also on his resume, which, look, tells you everything you need to know about him. He is a dog, man. I mean, he walks through the fire. He's durable as hell. And that's why he's 21-3. And that's why I don't understand why he's plus 245. This kid's
Makes
been
no sense.
around the bush.
No
It's an
sense.
inflated line. It's too wide. Him by decision is plus 550. Paiva has 14 decision wins or some shit. That's over 60% of his wins coming by way of judges' scorecard. I think plus 550 on Paiva is not a bad idea. Sean's not durable, baby. Sean O'Malley's brittle as fuck. So I think that once his shins and fists start to crumble on this steel body of Rowley and Paiva, Paiva's going to take over and get that decision.
I mean, I'm definitely a Sugar Sean fan. I love my Arizona guys. He's in our intro. But even me, who blindly will bet on him, thinks this line is way too
What
big.
is he at?
Minus 335.
Bro, to be honest, I don't think that's that big.
I'm kind of with...
What? You don't think that's that big?
I don't. I really
What?
don't. I think he's about to start him in like 3 minutes.
I could see that too, to be honest.
I
Looks like a
just
spinning back-
dribble, spin, wham, just done.
Hit
3
him with a
minutes.
crossover
Like,
and
yeah,
put him down.
just hit him
Well,
with the
the thing is that you
crossover.
realize that Sean
Bing.
brings that McGregor aura factor in. Maybe that will make a difference in Paiva's performance. Maybe it won't. Paiva's obviously been in some big fights before, so I doubt it. But he's never fought somebody at the
What'd you say it was 3 something? 3 what?
aura of a
335.
335. O'Malley should be about, in my opinion, minus 250.
So, yeah, no, we were saying it was too big. Like, it was...
Yeah, it's too big, but I don't think it's that far off.
Oh, okay.
Is my point. Like 250, 280, he should be a decent.
I thought he'd
size
come
favorite.
in right about 175-ish, just under 200, honestly. Like, I thought he'd be a favorite.
Yeah.
This seems way too big.
Kyler Phillips is a training partner of O'Malley. Phillips couldn't get him out of there. Granted, he had
almost did, though, that first round.
He had Paiva hurt completely. He had Paiva stunned. And so there's a lot of questions about whether or not Paiva can wear that same damage. But I don't know. I'm personally not super sold on O'Malley. In the Chris Moutinho fight, Moutinho was landing some decent leg kicks, and they were obviously not feeling too good on O'Malley. The kid just does not strike me as durable in any way, shape, or form.
That's fair.
After all of his fights, his hands are broken. He has to take significant time off. I think this is the fight where it finally catches up to him and the strategy doesn't pay off. It's about time you stop beating on Eddie Winelands and old guys, Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, I want to believe the hype. I want to believe the hype. That's all I can say. But this is finally at least a real test for him. Talk about real tests.
Yeah. Speak of a real test, we got Kai Kara France, 22-9 out of New Zealand, taking on Cody Garbrandt, 12-4 out of the USA flyweight bout. This is interesting. Cody Garbrandt's first fight at the flyweight division. Wonder if the weight change and if that's going to play a factor in any way. Coming off a loss to Rob Font, where he sort of just looked like a Tyron Woodley, didn't really throw too much, let the volume eat him up, and then just melted under the volume. I wonder if Kai Kara France can implement a similar game plan in this fight, but I'm very curious. It kind of seems like interesting to me. I don't know if Kai Kara France deserves this spot, and I'm the biggest Kai Kara France fan out there. And I'm kind of questioning, like, this seems
it's
like
an
a
interesting
big
spot.
steep.
And
No?
for casuals, I was kind of saying it, like, has there ever been more of a fight of just, like, throw the records out? Like, the records do not show, like, 22-9, 12-4, like, that does not tell the story in the slightest.
No.
But-
If Cody shows up like the real Cody, I think he wins this fight most of the time. But this is going to be determined on whether, one, he could even do this. I mean, he was always a small 135er, so it makes sense of him going to 125. But Kai's the perfect test, man. And it scares me. I'm not probably going to touch this fight with any money because I have no clue.
Purely out of fandom,
I like it not
probably-
going the distance, to be honest. But those odds probably suck. So, yeah, I'm probably not going to be touching this heavy. If gun to my head, I'm going to say Cody because I like Cody a lot.
only a minus 162 favorite to not go the distance. That's not crazy juice you got to pay in this one. I could definitely see that finish. I do at least like Kai Kara France's chances. Wow, that screwed me up. Kai Kara France's chances in this one because I do think, like the Rob Font one, I think volume and leg kicks will add up early and pay off late. That's really where I see. I don't know.
Doesn't Kai just throw bombs?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what scares me. Can the wrestling of Garbrandt just avoid bigger shots and Kai's not throwing combos? That's a huge recipe for failure if you're in the CKB corner.
I just, I look at the very lackluster prior performance of Cody Garbrandt against Rob Font, and it seemed like he really did not show up that night. Again, we have to take into account his COVID case, which was decently severe. Unsure if that's still affecting him. It clearly looked like it did. Shave off another 10 pounds. Like you said, I don't think he's going to have issues getting down to 125, but durability was a theme for him over his last, couple outings, and his ability to get lured into a firefight is still very much there. I saw all the same holes in the Rafael Assunção fight in Cody Garbrandt than I did in his fight with Pedro Munoz, than I did in his fights with TJ Dillashaw. It's not like he's a new and improved fighter. I don't know where the confidence is.
Yeah, he threw a shot from the hip and it landed at the buzzer.
On a very old, very out of prime Assunção. I think that KKF, like we said, is a great matchup for him. And I think that the odds, there's some value. Kai Kara-France to win by KO, TKO, plus 300. Again, this kid throws bombs. He took out Rogerio de Bontaran, or whatever the fuck his name is. And I can see that happening again very quickly. Kai's durable, right? Brandon Royval hit him with this beautiful spinning elbow counter that you remember. I mean, their fight was insane. And Kai was able to wear that and get back up and keep going. So I don't know. If Garbrandt shows up like he did against Font, I think that Kai's going to get him out of there quite quickly.
The question is, does Garbrandt start wrestling? Who's he been training with lately? He's been training with somebody.
Mark Henry?
No. He's been training with somebody else, so I think it's a really high-level grappler, which made me think, I'm like, Cody was a wrestler. What if he starts doing that?
It could be an avenue. I mean, Kai's worked with the Hickman brothers. He's definitely got some good takedown defense, so I don't think that's like exactly. Yeah,
it's true though.
But I also don't think that
you got to drag this out into a firefight. You got to drag this out into a fucking brawl. If you're Kai Kara-France, you got to make this bloody and fucking dirty and like point at the ground and be like, we're both gonna swing. And you want Cody Garbrandt to swing out of his brain and swing a little too far that it's right into your left hook.
Throw 3 right hooks in a row.
I think there is a very good chance that Kai Kara-France could steal Dan Ige's 50K tonight or on Saturday night. I think there's a very good chance for that.
I like the shout to the Dan Ige win, though.
Yeah. I mean, I got to give your lock a little love.
I'm scared.
Fight. Yo, this next fight scares the fuck out of me. I'm not going to lie. We got Jeff Neal, 13-4 out of the USA, taking on Santiago Ponzinibbio, 28-4 out of Argentina in the welterweight division. Jeff Neal recently in the news, got arrested, had some troubles there. Ponzinibbio, haven't seen him in the game in fucking ages, it feels like, even though he came back and lost. I don't know what to make of this guy. No idea what to think of him with he had a run, got hurt, staph infection, visa issues, the whole 9 yards, couldn't come here and fight. I don't know what to think of this cat. And Jeff Neal, on the other hand, they call him Hands of Steel, but I think his leg kicks are the most deadly. It's that 1-2 left head kick that is just a problem. And that smells like it's going to be a problem for Ponzinibbio.
Yeah, I think Jeff knocks him out. No, I don't have any backup information either. I just think he knocks him out.
Well, you're getting plus 162 on that line for Jeff.
Bro, that's the lock of the night that I've heard.
I don't hate that. I really don't hate
the lock of the night.
I mean, Ponzinibbio, again, hasn't been extremely active over the last few years. Has gotten, he has gotten a loss. I believe it was a decision when he came back, right? Or did he get finished?
He got KO'd by G.
Oh, yeah, G Young alone.
Yep.
So, yeah, if G can put him out, I think the thing that really, when you look at, like, quote-unquote ring rust, I think one of the
left head kick.
The biggest thing that is hardest to adjust to back to the cage is speed. And that's what Jeff Neal has. He has the speed. He has the power. So I kind of agree with that. The odds, money line-wise, are very close. Ponzinibbio actually coming in at a slight favorite, minus 124. Jeff Neal coming in at even. I like him by knockout, but that's not a lot of extra juice for the knockout. So I might just stick that money line there. Not that I think it will really go the distance, but
I got a different perspective. I think that Ponzinibbio's first comeback with the leech, didn't go his way. But then he had that barn burner with Miguel Baiza where he wore so much damage and was able to come through and power into the decision victory. Jeff Neal displayed that if you're crafty with your footwork, you can lose. I mean, think about the Wonder Boy fight. That was he just got outclassed over 3 rounds. I'm not saying that Ponzinibbio has the same ability to move laterally and circle out that Wonder Boy does.
I was about to say.
I'm not suggesting that. I think, Stephen Thompson's in a class of his own. But if, Neal can get confused by that, I think that if Ponzinibbio is just a bit more elusive than he has been, it should be a decent outing for him. I'm not touching this one. It really could go either way. I'm just going to probably suggest Neal's the smarter bet, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ponzinibbio gets it done.
Yeah, saying Ponzinibbio's footwork to Wonder Boy is like saying Lamar Jackson to like Josh Allen. Like,
not
yes, Josh Allen
I wasn't comparing them. I was bringing up the Wonder Boy fight and then suggesting Ponzinibbio adopt maybe a bit more of a in and out and elusive approach.
Okay. So whose record do you think changes? Do you see a 14-4 Jeff Neal or do you see a 13-5 Jeff Neal? This is what
in my mind, the more likely one is 14-4. Because if you go life and death with Miguel Baiza, then you're certainly going to die against Jeff Neal.
All right.
Yeah, I think Ponzinibbio does not smell like a 29-4 fighter.
No,
I know a lot of that. I know a lot of that record's padded early, but that don't sound
like it.
1-2 left head kick, lights out.
Talk about a 1-2 left head kick, lights out. Next fight,
we got the co-main event. We're talking the UFC Women's Bantamweight Championship. Amanda Nunes, the reigning champion, 21-4 at Brazil, taking on the challenger Juliana Pena, 10-4 out of the USA. What do we got?
Is there anyone that has taken the UFC's bait? They've just put it out there every time. And wait, we got one. We got one.
Why? Why would you bet on Pena?
Why?
Because she's been in the UFC the same amount of time as Amanda Nunes, the first ever female Ultimate Fighter. I want to believe in this story. I got her by sub.
That's so funny that she got submitted by Jermaine Durand to me. Dude, she's 2 in her last 4. There is nothing that instills confidence in the Juliana Pena line whatsoever. I would say this going the distance at plus 330 is a decent look. Amanda Nunes has gone the full 5 rounds in 2 out of her last 4 fights. Those other 2 were early finishes. So I don't know if Juliana Pena.
To be fair,
the only way
I didn't realize she was 1-1 in her last 2 fights. I thought she was on a 3-fight win streak.
No, she
and
lost
that made me more confident. I did not realize.
I was going to say
now I'm completely out. She won 1 fight and she's getting a title.
Nil was in person when Amanda Nunes dismantled Durandamy. So I was like, why would that instill any confidence in you? The only way I could actually see this,
because I want to bet one of these mega underdogs in these like cyborg Nunes fights and actually hit one.
Don't bet Pena.
I'm like 100% sure Nunes finishes this thing quick.
Over 1.5 rounds is actually minus 134. I think that's at least, maybe she'll play with her food for a little while. I don't know. Give ESPN a little time.
I don't know. Off in the interview because she's like, I've never dealt with somebody who talks this much because Pena's been talking shit, trying to build herself up. So I don't know if she takes that personally. I wouldn't talk shit to the Lioness. I wouldn't.
No.
I respect Pena, but she's dead.
Correct. Main event time. Let's do it, Neil.
We got the UFC Lightweight Championship of the World. We got Charles Oliveira, the champion, 31-8 out of Brazil, taking on the challenger, the Diamond, Dustin Poirier, 28-6. Absolute cracker of a fight. Let's fucking go. What a way to close out the pay-per-view schedule and headliner. Fellas, opening belt thoughts. Let's get it.
I think that, Poirier, he's gone through the ringer. He's fought everyone. He now got paid, and now he's trying to get his belt. And I want to open this up. We usually wait a second to get into the odds, but I think it's bloody disrespectful that the guy with gold around his waist is coming in at plus 130 underdog. Dustin Poirier is a minus 159 favorite. Say what you want. I think Charles Oliveira is a champion and carries himself as a champion. And at worst, this should be a pick'em fight. I believe he should be a slight favorite.
Okay.
I've said my piece.
All right. Well, so in that case, you think Oliveira's winning?
I do. I'm not extremely confident.
Yeah.
No, I'm not extremely confident. No, I think it's going to be a very close fight. I think that he's a little more skilled on the ground, but it's going to be very difficult for him to get it there. And obviously, if the bright lights turn on and he wants to get into a firefight, that could be a very bad idea for him. But I do just think that there's something about Oliveira that I like the cut of his jib. I think he carries himself like a champion, and there's something I think that actually, and I'm not saying that Poirier isn't a champion, but I think his focus has been elsewhere at times. And I'm not saying that clearly it's not always, the goal is to get to the top and be the best and everything. But I feel like Oliveira's had one line of focus, defend this championship. Poirier's getting pulled 6 ways to Sunday, all the shit with McGregor. I feel like that fucks with your head. I don't know.
I would say in terms of strength of schedule, Conor McGregor is not the elite fighter that, he was way back in the day. So the 2 wins that Poirier has this year being over him are less impressive to me than the wins over Michael Chandler. I mean, Chandler is such a dog that the fact that Oliveira sparked him the way he did early in round 2 speaks more to me than the wins over McGregor to some extent. I mean, very impressive still from DP to do it the way he did it, especially knocking McGregor out earlier this year in January. But I don't know. I there's so many questions. If Poirier jumps the guillotine like he tends to do frequently, that's a terrible idea. Charles Oliveira on top is a monster. I think that would be a quick way for Poirier to lose his second crack at undisputed gold. But if Charles stays on the feet with Poirier, I think Dustin hurts him, and I think we see Oliveira quit like he's done several times in his career.
Yeah. I think if Poirier can hurt Oliveira, I think the fight's gonna end up like if Poirier hurts Oliveira the way Chandler did, I think the fight will finish. But if Poirier can't find a way to significantly hurt him, I like Oliveira to just grind him out and just find a way to a takedown. I could easily see him subbing him, but if Poirier can connect one time and get him hurt, I think the constant pressure and combos of like 8, 12 punches will just add up and finish Oliveira.
This is the fight when I first saw it. I'm like, oh, Poirier's getting that belt. Here we go. And as it gets closer and closer and closer, I'm like, here we go. Like, I don't know. Oliveira's looking sharp. You see him hitting the mitts on like the embedded. So I'm like, man, he's getting better and better every single day. You can see the improvements fight to fight. But I think, the Tony Ferguson fight wasn't that, it was okay because, Ferguson is obviously on a slump a little bit. That the Chandler fight, that definitely showed he's got the heart still. But yeah, you're right. If he gets into that danger with Poirier, it's gonna be over quick. It's tough. If you get in my head, I guess I got to go Poirier, but I would not count Oliveira out. I probably won't have this in a lot of parlays at all.
No, this is one that I'm really hoping I can do well in the night, have a little in the account, and then bet a responsible part of the bankroll on Oliveira. So yeah, there's my pick, Oliveira.
I'm rocking Poirier.
I'm going Poirier.
Yeah, I'm going against you. Big facts.
All right.
Go with Poirier as well.
All right, I'm out on my island.
Damn.
But guess what? I got a belt. I got a belt on my island.
For like 2 more days.
Yeah.
Yeah, for now.
For now. But hey, we'll keep it. Big thanks to Baines MMA. Thank you for joining us. Very natural fit. Want to thank all of our sponsors.
Thanks for coming on.
And
follow
definitely
on Twitter. He's hilarious and he does great impressions. I don't know your Twitter handle exactly, so maybe you can shout it out, but definitely give him a follow.
At the Baines MMA is where you can find me. At
the Baines MMA. Give us the John Anik before you leave.
Want to give a huge thank you to the No Judges Necessary podcast. Great work by all gentlemen tonight. Beautiful accoutrement behind two of those guys. Love the Barstool banner. Good stuff to see this Saturday, UFC 269.
Appreciate that very much. Check us out on our live stream for UFC 269. Much love. We are